How's it, Godzilla fans, Kaiju fans, collectors, and just general people of YouTube? This is Chanzilla 1964 coming to you with something a little different today. This time we're going to be doing my very first G-Fest recap, aka G-Fest 2025, aka G-Fest 30. Yes, so I'm going to be recapping my whole G-Fest trip to Chicago, Rosemont, Chicago to be exact. And I'm going to do it in a PowerPoint kind of thing while I'm talking. So yeah, let's just kind of get to it. So first, pictures that are going to be popping up on the screen here. I arrived in Chicago on the day before G-Fest. I believe that was the 10th or the 11th. Okay, if you're clicking, I'm looking at my thing. That was the no. That was the 10th. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I live in Hawaii. I flew out from Hawaii on the 9th. I ended up landing in Chicago on the 10th. And I stayed in the DoubleTree Hotel, which I'm going to be popping up some pictures on the screen of my hotel room, which pretty nice hotel room, all things considered. Really nice hotel room. And then during that first day, I pretty much didn't really do much because I got in around the late afternoon time. In fact, I was trying to plan where I get in so I can make it for the pre-registration, but I ended up missing the pre-registration because my flight was delayed. I mean, you know what? It is what it is. And all I ended up doing was I ended up unpacking in my room. Then I walked down the street over to the fashion outlets of Chicago. And while I was walking there, I passed by the Rosemont Theater, which really nice theater. Didn't ever walk inside of it, but the outside is really nice and really pretty. So yeah, fashion outlets of Chicago. Walked around there for a bit, checked out what they had. Never knew Skittles Remix was a thing, but apparently it is. And the one thing I really appreciate about this outlet mall is that it's very artsy, and you're going to be seeing that in quite a few of these pictures that I have kind of passing by as I'm talking here. And then here's a reminder for you guys that you are beautiful. And yes, that is one of the art pieces which I absolutely love. But yeah, very artsy kind of mall. Really nice shops. The vendors are interesting. I'm just going to leave it at that. But that first night, I also got rained on badly. So I was soaked. There's a picture of my hotel room after I got back. So imagine that just as I was walking out of the mall. That's what I got hit with. And thankfully, I was able to go home back to my hotel room with a really nice cheese dog. My first meal in Chicago being a kind of Chicago cheese dog with root beer. So yeah, really nice. Then that ends the first day, my day in Chicago before the trip. Afterwards, went to work out at the DoubleTree's Fitness Center, had some breakfast, and I got ready for G-Fest. There's my fit. So here's the shot of my walk over to the Hyatt Regency in O'Hare. And then this is my first view when I walk into G-Fest. Well, not necessarily my first, but the first thing I see before I turn, and I realize that I gotta stand in a long freaking line for the registration, which is to be expected. Although that being said, to be fair, the line was moving pretty fast, so I wasn't exactly too wholly disappointed or upset about the registration thing. That's my dog. But on top of that, in the line, there's a lot of nice art pieces lined up. As you walk through the lobby, going to registration, there's this one really cool Godzilla 2000 piece where he's standing in fire that I'm going to pop up on the screen here. And then on top of that, there's even the G-Fest, official G-Fest kind of battery thing, pointing the way to the registration. And then there's a nice Ultraman thing, which for me, I didn't realize this because I didn't really pay attention to the, I didn't really pay attention much of the Ultraman stuff. But let's just say when I got the registration booklet, there's a lot of Ultraman, and it was very Ultraman heavy. And then I realized why. So yeah, I'll get to that later. But this is the Ultraman art piece. Then there's a really nice 64 or 65. It said 64. 64 art piece here in blue. Love this. Debating on changing my avatar for YouTube and my Instagram. Which, by the way, for those of you who don't follow my Instagram, I'm gonna leave it on the screen right here. But yeah, really nice picture of the 64 Godzilla here. And then on top of that, I got a sneak peek at one of the I guess, cosplays. Yeah, one of the cosplays for the costume contest, that being this really cool behemoth suit, which didn't have a person in it, that's why it looks the way it does. But yeah, I was really hyped to see the cosplay contest or the costume contest after I saw that. And then here's a nice Rodan piece, Show Rodan, and there's this really cool wall with Hedorah, Megalon, Jet Jaguar, Gigan, Mechagodzilla, King Caesar, and Titanosaurus. Here's a side angle of it, and then here's kind of a front view of the whole wall, which really cool wall. My favorite part of the wall is King Caesar personally, because how he's really set up like the Foo Dog. And then you got all the other baddies duking it out. Really cool piece of art. That's probably my favorite art piece as I was passing through the lobby. And then now I got my registration. So yeah, really nice. I got the weekend pass. I'm probably gonna do that next year if I go next year, or the next time I go to G-Fest. But yeah, anyways, I got the weekend pass and my official program, which is really cool. I didn't know that the G-Fest programs were magazines, even though it makes sense for the whole weekend. But yeah, really like that thing, and I'm gonna keep it, honestly. And then first thing I did afterwards, I immediately went to the dealer's room line, which was ridiculously long. Mind you, it stretched from, and it snaked, not stretched, but it snaked all the way to another part of the hotel, which was kind of crazy. But the cool thing with that is, and this is the one thing I like about G-Fest this year, which I hope continues, and from what it sounds like, has been a thing that's been going on for recent G-Fest, where the lines really move really well. It's not where you're stuck waiting for like 10, 20 minutes, and you're stuck in the same spot like Disneyland. I'd say the most you wait is about 2 to 5 minutes, and then next thing, the line moves by exponential amounts. It moves pretty fast. But yeah, this is my view into the dealer's room. As I'm walking in, I finally got to the front line. This is me walking to the doors for the dealer's room. I'm not sure in this video if I end up going in. Nope, don't end up making in. But this is my first views of the dealer's room when I get in there. Really cool. I liked a lot of the vendors, and in fact the first vendor I went to after getting in there is the YMSF booth, because as you all know, or not YMSF, sorry, but Zero Toys, because as you all know, the one figure I was looking for at the G-Fest this year is this Zero Toys Scylla figure, which I did end up getting Scylla, and then some, because there's some other cool pieces there. Like on top of Scylla, I also picked up Zedus, and yeah, just Scylla and Zedus this first time around, because I ended up going back to the dealer's room 2 more times, or the vendor's room rather, but yeah, I ended up going back to that room 2 more times after this, but this first go around I picked up Scylla and Zedus. Really happy with those pools, by the way. But yeah, these are a lot of really cool vendors. Here's a picture of my bag after I left the dealer's room, because on top of that, I also picked up the not retro, but the game version of Bagan, and the shadow colored, aka original colored version of King Ghidorah, which was something I was planning on picking up eventually. And I also picked up a really cool 1964 Godzilla movie poster from, I believe that was the Godzilla store booth. Might be wrong, but that's pretty much the impression I got. There was an Akira Ifukube CD track there too, but I decided not to pick that up because in this day and age, I don't have a CD player. I do not plan on getting a CD player, and if I was going to do any Akira Ifukube stuff, I'd probably get a record. But yeah, really cool booths, lots of really nice booths. I wasn't expecting this, but there was even I'll get to that in a second when I get to the second go around in the vendor's room, because the first go around I didn't see him, and spoilers, Fresh Final Reviews was at one of the booths, which is really cool. I never thought I'd see one of the any of the Godzilla YouTubers, but I ended up seeing one of them, and honestly he was, and I told him this, he was one of the guys who got me into even thinking about doing a YouTube channel for Godzilla. So it was really cool to meet him. let's move along here, because after I left the dealer's room, I immediately went down the hall to the sessions, and as I was passing by, I walked into the dojo studios, which I thought was a session, but it wasn't quite, it wasn't. And inside they had this whole room set up with buildings, a green screen, and all the suits, which is really, really cool. It was cool to see because they were making a Godzilla scene, a scene with a Godzilla suit in the dojo studios. So here's some pictures of that. There's the Godzilla right there, really cool looking Godzilla, and there's the view of the screen. And as they were making it and showing the audience how to do this kind of setup and everything, there was like live walkthrough on the screen where they learned how to get the shots exactly as they wanted. So yeah, that was really, really cool. And then here's my here's my lineup for the first go around of, well, not the first go around. I guess this includes my second go around for the dealer's room, because gosh, yeah, this is my second go around, I think, because there's a couple of figures I don't remember purchasing the first time around. Unless, no, this was my first time going around in the dealer's room. It's just that I went back a second time to the YMSF booth to pick up the Komodo Thrax figure. And the funny story about the Komodo Thrax is that, and I'm glad I went back around this time, because when I asked the Sakura-san, the person who owns Zero Toys, he let me know that, this was the last Komodo Thrax figure. So I was like, okay, you know what, I'll get that one. So I ended up picking up Komodo Thrax. And from the Fresh Rhino booth, I also ended up picking up the Godzilla 1989 figure, which was a really nice find. Or not 1989, sorry, 84 figure. I was looking at something for Godzilla vs. Biollante earlier. But the Godzilla 84 figure, which was from Bandai Movie Monster series, which was something I was looking for a bit. Even in Japan, I couldn't find it, but I didn't have that one, and I figured it'd be nice to get an updated version of the figure and be able to put the memorial box one in a place where it won't get so messed up with the dust and everything. So yeah, this is my overall figure haul for that first day of G-Fest, which is a really good haul. Really, really happy with that. Really excited to even have these guys in hand and be able to pick these guys up at G-Fest nonetheless. But yeah, moving on to the next picture. This is my overall haul, because on top of all that, I also picked up a t-shirt, and I also, at the art room, I picked up a couple of art pieces, and I'll show them across the screen somewhere, but they're really nice pieces. Really happy with those pieces. And yeah, I believe this is my second walkthrough when I went back to the vendors to G-Fest, because I had left to take a break, take a minute. So I came back after dropping off my stuff, and then I had checked out the History G-Fest room, and there was really cool. There's the first ever G-Fest image of G-Fantas from the G-Fest back in 1999, which I didn't know this is how long this thing has been going on, which is really, really cool. But yeah, really, really cool image of G-Fantas. And then here's the history of G-Fest there. You can pause the video if you want to read it, but I took a picture because I still have yet to read it myself. So if you want to give it a read, pause the video, give it a read right now. But afterwards, the first ever Friends of G-Fan meeting. This is the list of folks, which is really cool to think that it originally started off this small, and now it's grown to something tremendous. Like, there's thousands and thousands of G fans meeting at this convention this year, from what I heard. In fact, I was speaking to one guy, the guy who's running the vendors room, or keeping count for the people who's running the vendors room, and according to him, the count he got at the end was around 8,000 people who passed by him, but that doesn't include people when he stopped counting, or even on the last day, because I believe he counted for a beginning portion of the last day, but stopped because the flow was, consistent where it wouldn't get backed up in the dealer's room. So that's really cool. Here's some pictures of past G-Fest. In fact, I took a picture of this G-Fest specifically because this G-Fest is the G-Fest that happened when I was born in the year 2000. So that was really, really cool to see. And then here's some other past G-Fest art of G-Fantas. 25th anniversary. In fact, this is one of the original art pieces by Matt Frank, who is one of the big Godzilla artists out there. This is really, really cool to see. And then in that room, there was also a Gamera gallery. So here's some pictures of the Showa Gamera and the Heisei Gamera, I guess you can say, art there. And in fact, there's this really nice little, like not little, but like human-sized pop-up Gamera board, which is really, really cool. One thing I should have taken a picture next to, in fact, thinking about it, but that's alright. And then there's this really cool setup with Gamera's rivals. There's a Flying Gamera there, Gauss, and Barugun, Viron, Virus, Zigra, pretty much all the Showa villains or rivals were there. That was really cool too. And then afterwards I moved on to the G-Fest model display room, which had some really, really nice pieces. When I walk in, I was hit bam with this picture, or with this pretty much this site with the 4 Godzilla bust on the stands. Had 64 in the first place, love 64. Then had Shin Godzilla, I believe that was Godzilla 2014, and the -1 Goji. And might I say, you guys will see individual pictures of the bust, but just this initial sight of them got me really, really excited for the dealer's room. And then I turn and I see this really, really nice bust of Godzilla 2000. I thought it was the suit head, but no, it was just a bust. And then as we continued walking through the dealer's room, there's other really, really cool pieces here. Here's the more handmade pieces. This really, really cool Protector Pathways Mothra one is really cool, actually. This was one of the cooler ones. This had one of my more favorite pieces, I gotta say, in the top 3. That one being this one, the kind of Hawaii style surfer, really laxed versions of Gamera and all of his Showa full rivals. You see, you got Jiras there in the Hawaii in the Aloha wear, and then looks like everyone else is trying to surf on Gamera's shell. That was a really cool piece, really original. I like that personally. In my top 3, here's another really cool piece. Something looked like from Evangelion. I think I might have gotten it wrong. This is another one in my top 3. This is a Godzilla Destroy All Monsters chess set, which was really, really cool. You had all the monsters, you had the army, the fire dragon, and then I think one of the stalagmites from the aliens planet and the starship, which is really, really cool. And then as we continue moving along, here's some other art pieces with Godzilla at -1 fighting Biollante, 2 Rodans from the 56 Rodan movie diorama. Here's a couple of Gamera models, another shot of the Rodans. This one is interesting. This is a Mechagodzilla versus another mech, and I really liked how they did the lighting on this, or not the lighting, but the lasers on this, where they used lights and they segmented it so it looked like the lasers were shooting from Mechagodzilla. That was really cool. And then here's a Godzilla Save the Earth diorama, I believe. At least that's what it reminds me of. This is a really neat one. Then here's a Godzilla -1. I believe this is a Godzilla versus Mothra reference to 64, but they used the -1 and the 2014, or the Godzilla X Kong Mothra, not the 2014, but the 2023 one. Really, really nice diorama, honestly. That's really nice. And here's another really cool one that I liked. Not in the top 3, I'd say, but really cool. This is a diorama of the 56 Rodan against some fighter planes. Another cool one of Godzilla versus the Astro Monster, but instead of Mothra they used King Kong. A couple other models here. Not a couple, but a few other models here. Yeah, a really nice GMK model. We like this GMK model. And the Megagearus one is cool too, but the GMK one stuck out for me more. Here's some Alien, King Kong, Rhedosaurus. Got a really cool couple of Orga models, an Ultraman. And we got the -1 Godzillasaurus, or Odo Island Godzilla form. These ones are really cool. I really like seeing these Mothra models here. And you got the Giant Condor there too. Which, by the way, shout out to Giant Condor. Moving to 2025. Hopefully we get a figure reveal of that guy soon. A couple other figures. Really cool Flying Destroyer. And then a couple of really cool King Ghidorah. Not figures but models here as well. Then here, this is another one of the really cool GMK models. And then here's Guiron. These are probably in the last ones in the top 3. I have a hard time ranking them, but this is the 55 Godzilla and the Haruo Nakajima coming out of the Godzilla suit. There's a couple other models of Titanosaurus, Megalon, and Gigan. An Ultraman bust with 2 little, I guess, chest pieces of the GMK and Shin Godzilla. And then here, this is the highlight of the model room for me, other model gallery for me, that being this, all the bust. So here is 64 head on. I might turn this guy into my new avatar for my channel and my Instagram page, because this is like a really cool shot of his head. And then you got Shin Godzilla here looking as terrifying, as gnarly as ever. Here's Godzilla 2014, really, really nice. And then here is the bust for the -1 Godzilla. Yeah, that one is really cool. And then G-Fest also had a tattoo room. I did not end up going and getting a tattoo. And then this is my second time going around into, or no, my third time going around into the dealer's room. Here I was able to get a clear shot of the room as soon as I walk in. So that's what all this stuff is. My left and my right. It cleared up by this point, but yeah. And then here, there's the YMSF booth that I was talking about earlier. Then I didn't really pick anything else up from the dealer's room at that point. I believe I just went around for a second walkthrough, and then I walk out and I see this guy. This suit cosplayer, this suit of the Godzilla walking around here. I forget the official name for it, but it was really, really cool to see. It was too cool that I couldn't pass up a picture with it. And yeah, this is really, really cool experience for me. And taking a picture of my first Godzilla suit. And then after I took a picture with him, I walked inside the Dojo Studios room, and then there's a few other suits set up. Here's some folks learning how to make a monster suit, kaiju suit. Then I continued. I left the dealer's room, I left the Dojo Studios room, and then I walked down the hall, and then I passed by these 2 statues here, going towards the game rooms. And then it was 2 Godzilla -1 statues, which were really cool. I'm not sure why they were there. I mean, it was cool that they were there. They kind of remind me of the Food Dogs, but instead of Food Dogs, they used Godzilla -1. But yeah, I walked into the arcade room, and then here was the kind of a couple of things in the arcade room, which are interesting, but they're cool. There were heads of the Final Wars Godzilla, Anguirus here from 2004, and the GMK Baragon, which I really thought was cool seeing that in person. Cute puppy dog face. And then here's a picture of the inside of the across from the arcade room. This is the gamers room, where you could play other G fans up against each other. And the games, I believe, was Godzilla Unleashed and Godzilla Save the Earth, as well as another game which I had slipping my mind, but I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, that was really cool to see. There's a shot from inside the arcade room. After I walked out of the arcade room, as I was making my way down the hall, there was this Mothra suit coming out of the Dojo Studios room and kind of getting set up in the lobby area. So I couldn't help but snag a picture of that because it was really cool seeing the Mothra. And then here, like I said, in the Dojo Studios room, here's a couple of the other suits that were set up. Here is a really cool shot of the Godzilla 2003 suit that I saw. And behind it is a really, really cool Godzilla suit, or Godzilla 1998 suit, which I absolutely loved. I didn't know that thing could actually work. I thought that was just set up for display, but I saw a video of it later on Instagram, of the thing walking, which is really, really cool. And to round off that portion of my first day at G-Fest, I was also able to meet Hiroko Sakurai and get an autograph from her. There was no line, thankfully, so when I walked into the Ultraman room after I passed by Dojo Studios, I saw her there, so I was like, oh, you know what, I will go and get an autograph. And as you can see, that's a picture of me and her after she signed my, the poster, or not poster, but the picture from her time as, one of the main characters in Ultraman, the original Ultraman series, which is, by the way, one of my favorite Ultraman series, especially since we got introduced to such an amazing monster like Gomora. So yeah, that was a really, really cool experience, although it does not top the experience that comes at the end of my night, which we're getting to. So after I left the Dojo Studios and the Ultraman room, I ended up being able to see the Mothra larva moving. So this is images of it. And then I went back to Motorum after that because, had to rest up a little bit. And I had to drop off my other stuff that I picked up from the vendor's room, which I ended up picking up the, Sofuvi. I just reviewed the damn thing too. It's the Godzilla Sofuvi Finger Puppet Set Volume 3. Yeah, that thing. I ended up picking that thing up from the vendor's room. Actually, I didn't think I picked up anything else, but I guess I did. That was the only thing. And then I also picked up a really cool Ultraman coin from the Ultraman room. It's an Ultraman 7 Goliath coin. Ultraman 7 is my favorite Ultraman, ironically enough. But the Ultraman, the original series is still my favorite series for Ultraman, so yeah. And after resting for a little bit, I went back to the G-Fest, and I was able to catch the ending of the opening ceremony for G-Fest, which had everyone lined up, all the, I guess what you can call is all of the panelists, or all of the special guests who were there giving autographs, because and you'll see everyone who's giving autographs in more or less everyone. There's going to be some people who I didn't end up getting autographs from for one reason or another. I will mention them, but yeah, these are all the special guests for G-Fest this year lined up next to G-Fantas and the person running G-Fest this year. Really, really cool. And one of them was none other than Ben Furuya, who was the original suit actor for the original Ultraman. So he walked out, and then everyone was kind of walking around, and then he took a picture next to the Ultraman art piece that we saw in the beginning when I walked into the lobby area. That was really cool. And then we're able to all take a picture with him while doing the Ultraman pose, because he was doing pictures with, folks who were coming around and, saying hi to him. So that was probably the highlight of my night, being able to meet the original suit actor for Ultraman. So yeah, that was really, really cool experience. Thankfully, that wasn't my last interaction with Ben Furuya during G-Fest, but that was really, really cool, being able to end my day meeting him and Hiroko Sakurai. Both two really great actors from the original Ultraman. After that, I ended up going and having dinner at the Red Bar, which is in the Hyatt Hotel. And there's even a special menu for G-Fest, which is really, really cool. Myself, I ended up getting the Nuclear Sunrise mocktail, which is, you can see here. And I ended up getting the Tokyo burger, which was a really, really good burger. Really juicy, really good flavors, especially the Godzilla sauce, which was really, really, nice. Actually, it was really Really good, really flavorful burger. And then that ended my G-Fest, my day one G-Fest experience with that dinner. During that first day, I met a lot of really cool people, a lot of really cool G-fans. I met this one guy, Nate, who I was waiting with in the line. Shout out to you, Nate. Thank you for, sticking out with me in the line there. If not, it would have been not unbearable, but just would have been, less fun. And it was really cool meeting another G-fan. On top of that, while I was at the airport, I was able to meet Kamen Rider Silver himself, which I will admit, I apologize for this now, but I did forget your name. But yeah, I ended up meeting Kamen Rider Silver, who has I believe it's an Etsy shop online, and he makes a lot of really cool buildings, a lot of really cool Godzilla stuff. So be sure to check out his shop online. I'll leave it over here in the video. On top of that, I also met a couple other cool people, Jay, and then while I was at the Red Bar, I met this really cool older gentleman named Marvin. Shout out to him. So on that first day, basically, I met a lot of really cool G-fans, and I was able to meet, a variety of different G-fans too. And able to talk story with them and just kind of learn a little bit more about, I guess the other different personalities in the Godzilla or even, tokusatsu world out there. But it was a really cool, really fun first day. Got me really excited for the next couple of days, which were an absolute blast as well. But I will say they do not top this first day. So, yeah. Okay, and we're back. Bam! Day 2 of G-Fest. I started off day 2 of G-Fest with breakfast at the same place, same restaurant. That was in my hotel. And here's my fit for that day. As you see, I got the Godzilla -1 t-shirt that I got from, I believe this one came from Japan. But let's just jump right into the day, because that day was filled with quite a bit of stuff going on. That being one of the first panels that I went to at G-Fest. I went into the panel that pretty much had the recap. Let me find the official name, because I got the program in front of me right here. Yeah, here it is. So that panel was for Saturday, and that was for the writing Godzilla's biography. The stories behind the researching, writing, and publishing of Godzilla the first 70 years. The new official history of the King of the Monsters as told by authors Ed Godziszewski and Steve Reifel. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your names or butchered it. Hopefully I didn't too badly. But yeah, that was the first panel I sat on, and I really enjoyed it. To hear the stories and, pretty much what went into making the book, the, Godzilla the first 70 years. Or 70 years in the making, sorry. And it is a book that I was unable to get at G-Fest, sadly, but I was able to find a copy of the book with the signed by one of the authors. I believe it was Ed that signed it, and it's going to be on this website through their own thing going on there. But it was a very cool panel to sit in on and hearing their stories, like I'd said, especially when it came out on those stories about, who was it? I forgot already, but it was an interesting story. It was one of the suit actors or something like that. I'm not sure if it was Haruo Nakajima. It might have been Haruo Nakajima, where they had pretty much had dinner with them. From what it sounds, from if I remember it correctly, I might be misremembering it. Because on the same day, I also went to a screening of the history of Haruo Nakajima, which was really, really cool and interesting to hear his story about how he had fought in World War II and then how he got reunited with his wife because they got separated during the war, and pretty much the trauma he came back to when he came back from the war and seeing the devastation that the atomic bombs had left on pretty much where he lived. But that's a picture of pretty much the 70 years in the making Godzilla book panel. There's a lot of cool stories. I will do recap of that book when we get to it. And in fact, I'll probably remember what I was trying to remember right now when I do the recap of that book when I get into August. So leave me in the comment section down below. Remind me to do a recap of that book, because it's a really, really cool, really wonderful book. And it has stories and pictures that haven't been released, because these are pictures from the author himself and his wife, or his family and his circle of friends, that came from Toho Studios when they were, when that circle was working in it and on that stuff. So, yeah. Moving on to the next picture. So on Saturday for me, the second day of G-Fest was the day I was rushing to get autographs. Like, it was autographs galore for me, because, and I'm going to pull out my program again here. If I remember correctly, the autographs, or the people who were doing autographs on that day, there was Bin Furuya, Shinichi Wakasa, or actually, let me kind of give you a little background. Bin Furuya was, and well, yeah, pretty much was the suit actor for the original Ultraman series. So, the first ever Ultraman, that was him. That was one of the first autographs that I got. But after him was Shinichi Wakasa, who was the SFX director for a lot of the Millennium films, if not all of the Millennium films. So he worked on the suits, the explosions in the background, the buildings, the atomic breath. I mean, just really, really cool job, really cool guy too. There was also Kurt Carley, who was the suit actor for the suit for the Godzilla 1998 movie. That wasn't used, but it was still cool to see him there. I unfortunately did not get his autograph, but after him was Noboru Kaneko, who was the actor who was one of the pilots in Kiryu in the Godzilla 2004 aka Godzilla Tokyo SOS movie. So that was really cool to get to meet him. And then after him was also, let me see here. But what I'm getting at is there was also two other guys who were from the original Gamera trilogy. That being Carl Craig, who was the Kenny. No, I'm just joking. He was the American kid in the Godzilla Gamera vs. Viras movie, pretty much. And then there was also Yoshiro Uchida, who was the original Kenny, aka the original kid, who was in the first ever Gamera movie. Pretty much that premiered Gamera. So I got to meet them as well. That was really, really cool. And on top of that, there was also, as you saw from yesterday, Hiroko Sakurai, who I had met, got her autograph. She was the first person I got the autograph from. Honestly, huge honor. Really, she was really nice. Really liked her character in the original Ultraman, I gotta say. So that was really cool to meet her. And then there was also Kiyotaka Taguchi, who did film and television directing on Ultraman, and I believe it was just Ultraman, the newer Ultraman. But I did not, like Kurt Carley, I didn't get his autograph either. For one reason or another, I just didn't end up picking up their autographs. But that being said about the autographs and the people who, there were autographs of, there's a bit of backstory behind the autographs that I got from Shinichi Wakasa and Noboru Kaneko, because as you see here, there's this, as you've seen on the screen for a hot minute, there's this green vinyl Godzilla 2003, which is pretty much, this was a event exclusive Godzilla 2004 Tokyo SOS Godzilla that I just wasn't planning on ever picking up, to be honest with you. But when I heard that Shinichi Wakasa and Noboru Kaneko were going to be there, I was thinking, okay, wait, it'd be really cool to have a signed figure from both of them rather than have just a signed poster or something like that. So that's why I rushed through the vendor's room and I was trying to find some sort of figure that could go with them. And I noticed that one of the vendors had a half of the set of the posing Godzilla Godzilla against Mechagodzilla figure set, that being the Godzilla with the curved tail looking up at Kiryu with the curved down tail. There was only the Godzilla, which I was like, oh, well, you know what, I don't want to pick up half if there isn't the whole thing, so I just skipped on that guy. And I was looking around, and I was kind of going to give up. I was like, okay, you know what, screw it, I'll just buy another Kiryu figure and another Godzilla 2003 figure, and I'll just have them sign that. But what ended up happening was, I ended up seeing this event exclusive Godzilla 2003, and I was like, okay, wait, both of them worked on the Godzilla 2009 Tokyo SOS film, so I was like, I'll have them sign this figure. So I picked this up, and that's pretty much how I ended up picking up this figure for $90, which is a steal. And I ended up taking it to get it signed by them. But before we got to them, I had decided to go and get that same poster that Hiroko Sakurai had signed, and I asked Ben Furuya to sign that poster, which he did. So now I have a poster with both Ben Furuya and Hiroko Sakurai's signatures on it. And it's really cool because this poster has Ultraman in his suit. I believe there was Magular and then Hiroko Sakurai next to them. So that was a really cool experience. And on top of that, one thing I really appreciate about Ben Furuya is that whenever they do a kind of photo op with him or something along those lines, or even if you take a picture with him, and one thing I appreciate is he likes to do the Ultraman pose. You know, the swat. Where Ultraman does the Spacium beam. So one cool thing about him is that he corrects everyone to make sure it's in the proper position, proper alignment for the arms, and then he goes alongside and does it with you, and you get the picture, which is what you see there. So that was a really, really cool experience to be able to meet Ben Furuya and be able to, you know, have that experience with him. After I got Ben Furuya's autograph, I moved on to get actually Carl Craig's autograph. Yeah. So Carl Craig, really, really cool guy. I had a really nice time talking with him. I think I'd spent about 10-20 minutes talking to him about his experience on the set of Gamera vs. Virus, and kind of what he went through as a kid, especially having to do that kind of movie. Which that whole history was really interesting, really fascinating. He's a really cool guy to talk to. As you can see in this picture, he even let me hold one of the original guns from the Gamera vs. Virus movie. And in fact, he also brought on one of the prop cameras that he, as you know, his character brought along with him throughout the film. So that was really, really cool. Afterwards, I went to go and get Yoshiro Uchida's autograph, which, as you can see here, as the signed poster, the original Gamera poster, signed by him. So that was a really, really cool experience. Spend a little bit of time talking with him. Afterwards, that's when I got to the booth with Noboru Kaneko, and that's when I asked him to sign the green vinyl Godzilla, which he did a very good job on. I felt a little bad because he was having a bit of trouble signing the figure itself, which now I know better. I'm probably never going to do that again. But honestly, lesson learned, really cool experience, because at the end, I got this really cool picture with him where it's both of us saluting, as we would if we were, Kiryu pilots. So that was really, really cool. I really enjoyed that experience with Noboru Kaneko. Now, I did also have Shinichi Wakasa sign the tail of it, and in fact, here's a picture of it that same day. However, I didn't end up getting a picture with him because there's other people behind me, so I was kind of like, oh, okay, I should move along. And there wasn't really anybody there to help take a picture, so I just kind of left it as is. But that's not bad or terrible, because I ended up going back afterwards. Not the same day, but the day after. Because after I got Shinichi Wakasa's autograph, I walked back to my hotel room to drop everything off. That way, nothing gets damaged or crumpled. And then I believe I got dinner afterwards. Or I rested and then I got dinner. Yeah, I went back to the fashion outlets of Chicago and I grabbed some dinner. This time I went to Mary Pari, which was Mary Pari's Kitchen, which was a sandwich place, I believe, and a coffee place. They have a pretty good chicken sandwich, I gotta admit. So after I had dinner, I walked back to the Hyatt where G-Fest was happening, and I saw this my first sight of a Chicago pigeon, because for those of you who don't know, Hawaii pigeons are very different from other pigeons in that they're smaller and they're I wouldn't say nasty looking, they're just as nasty looking, but they're just different looking. So for me I was like, oh, neat, Chicago pigeon, nice. But pretty much when I got to G-Fest, I was slammed with the costume, or the costume contest pretty much, because when I gotten back, the award ceremony for the Hall of Fame awards was already going on. I wasn't planning on making that at all, but I did want to check out the costume contest. So when I got there, I saw this crowd and I was like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm going to be able to see anything. And pretty much found a pretty decent spot where I could see some stuff. Before I got to that spot though, I popped inside of the Dojo Studios room where all of the cosplayers and the costume, people were getting ready. And I also took a peek inside of the room where they're having the award ceremony, and I was able to catch a glimpse of this really cool Anguirus suit. And then that's when the costume contest began, where we started seeing this Mechagodzilla, which is really cool. And you can see I got a pretty decent spot to take pictures where I only got a few things blocking, but I could still see the suits. Yeah, there's Mechagodzilla. Then the Anguirus I saw came out. This kid had a really cool Anguirus costume, probably my favorite Anguirus costume for that whole thing. Really cute too, especially the feel of the character itself too, from whoever made that costume. Then there's a Godzilla costume right here, really cool. I really appreciate the eyes there. And this costume was cooler, this being a Rodan from the 2019 Godzilla King of the Monsters movie. Really, really cool costume right there, Rodan. And then you got a Godzilla -1 and a Mechagodzilla costume or cosplayers right there. I liked how the Godzilla -1 had smoke coming out of it. And afterwards, there was another Godzilla costume, which I didn't get a clear shot of. It was really neat. And then as you can see here in this next picture, here's a sneak peek of Hedorah. But before Hedorah, we got a glimpse of Destroya. Yes, this really cool Destroya suit came walking out, and this was probably my top 5 suits for the whole, costume contest. So yeah, seeing Destroya suit was really cool. Then after Destroya popped on Ultraman Zero, which I was kind of surprised by because I thought we were gonna have Hedorah pop out, but the Ultraman Zero cosplay was also really, really cool. And then here popped out this Hedorah suit, which is in my top 3 because the eyes lit up and it was like pretty crazily well detailed. Like there's a shot of the eyes right there. Really, really cool. Then we had an Ultraman suit, or Ultraman cosplayer. Mothra cosplayers. There's quite a few Mothra cosplayers like that. And then I think this was the Mechagodzilla from 2019. This was a really cool cosplay in that he had a sword, which kind of went along with him. And then there's another cosplay of Godzilla. And here's another really cute Anguirus cosplay right there. And then this is a really cool cosplay of the 54 Godzilla, which the eyes are wonky, but honestly, this is still one of the better Godzilla suits in my opinion for the whole costume contest. So that was a really cool one, and you can tell it was handmade, which is the nice part. I always appreciate that kind of. And then here we have Biollante coming out. This is a really cool Biollante cosplay right here as well. After Biollante we have Titanosaurus, Kid Titanosaurus. I'm gonna name him that, Kid Titanosaurus right there. And then as you can see here we have Pandon from Ultra 7. Really cool. And then we have a Kamen Rider here. And after Kamen Rider, we have King Ghidorah. I believe this is the GMK one because it had the frills and all, so that was a really cool one. And then we also have Gyro here. And after Gyro, I finally got to see the Behemoth suit that I saw on the first day, the day before. So that was really cool to see the Behemoth suit in action. And then there's Godzilla 2000 suit, and I believe this was Zilla. This blue monster was this blue kaiju was Zilla. Oh no, my bad. Sorry, I jumped the gun on Hedorah. This was the Hedorah costume that blew me away with the red eyes and the yellow head. This was the one with the crazy good detail and the really nice eyes. But the top costume for me, and I know this is biased, is this Godzilla 1964 suit that came out at the very end. That is honestly my favorite suit of the whole costume contest for my first G-Fest 30, even though there's a lot of really good ones. But that pretty much wraps it up for the costume contest portion of G-Fest 30. After that words, I was able to meet Dr. Serizawa and one of the mutants from Godzilla 2004, or sorry, Godzilla Final Wars, who was not in his, full cosplay. Because they had the gun from I believe the G unit, G-Force, and Dr. Serizawa had a life-size oxygen short, which was really cool. I'm really glad he didn't set it off, if not we all would have been goners. But that was a really, really cool day to get to meet them, take pictures with them, and there was in fact these really cool blow-up suits of Mechagodzilla and Hedorah, which I didn't know these existed, so to see these were really cool. Afterwards, that was pretty much the end of the day for G-Fest for me. And that brings an end to day 2. Alright, how's it going, guys? This brings us to day 3 of G-Fest. The last day of G-Fest 2025, G-Fest 30, G-Fest XXX, which, by the way, don't think people didn't not realize what you did there, even though I know it's just a symbol for 30. But pretty much last day of my first G-Fest. This day was honestly too fast for emotions because it was a packed day. I woke up at about 4 in the morning, and I decided to head into downtown Chicago to check out the actual, Chicago itself, rather than where we're staying, which was just Rosemont. Sorry, that was my phone. So I jumped on the train and I, went into Chicago. Here's some of the first sights that I saw, just some highlights of the trip, because I know you guys aren't here for me to see me in Chicago. You guys are here to see, G-Fest. Although, might I add, if you guys ever do go to G-Fest, Chicago is someplace I definitely recommend you guys check out, especially since it is right there. It's an experience to behold, especially if you're into that touristy kind of thing, or even if you just like, checking out different places, traveling. Chicago's a definite spot to hit up. While I'm talking, you can see all the pictures that I took, all the sites that I saw. Definitely cannot recommend it more. But after I went to Chicago, I ended up getting back into G-Fest at around 12. I want to say 12. Yeah, 12. No, more like 11:30. No, definitely 12. Because here's my fit that I took at 11:25 that day after I got back from Chicago. Took a quick nap. No, I didn't take a quick nap. I just dropped off my stuff. But there's my fit, and it takes about 15-30 minutes to walk there. So, yeah, did that. Here's my first picture back in the G-Fest. My final day there, first place I hit up was the vendors, the dealer's room, and I went back to the X Plus table because I couldn't get enough of X Plus. And no, Jesus have mercy, I am tired. No, not. And granted, this is how my brain felt on the last day of G-Fest too. A mix of tired, excited, trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. Just kind of going through it and experiencing and taking it in is the best way to put it. But not the X Plus table, the YMSF table, Zero Toys table. I went back over there because I just wanted to see if by chance he had any leftover animated Godzilla series retro figures that to go along with the Komodo Thrax. He did not, but I did see a comic version of Godzilla, aka the Raymond Burr Godzilla, aka pretty much the Green Monster, which I did end up picking up the Green Monster at my last stop there, and I ended up asking if I could get a picture with him, since I've been such a huge, fan of YMSF, now known as Zero Toys and everything. We had a nice conversation about why it changed from YMSF to Zero Toys. But here's the picture. It was, again, really, really cool guy, really cool experience. Hopefully, I'm hoping to see my G-Fest next year to get more whatever figures he releases. And like I said in my Methuselah review video with Methuselah, Behemoth, Muto Prime, hopefully we get other figures from the Monsterverse like Tiamat, Abaddon. I want to say Mokele and Bembe, since there is some sort of an idea out there, but we'll see. If not that, Amuluk. But yeah, that's that table there. And then I also went back and I visited the table that had Mike Johnson there and Mr. Fresh Final Reviews, and that is where I picked up the X Plus Death for Real Godzilla -1. So yeah, that's where the X Plus stuff comes in, and I finally got to talk story, take a picture with him for a bit. Like I said, really, really cool guy. I explained to him that he was one of the YouTubers, and I say one of the because there's a few, not a lot, but I'd say about a handful, count them on one hand, the Godzilla YouTubers who got me interested in saying, hey, you know what, maybe this is something I should try out. What the hell, I'll give it a try. And he's very supportive of it, which I really hugely appreciate. And if you guys do not watch, which I doubt you guys don't yet, but if you guys haven't heard or you don't watch Mr. Fresh Final Reviews, you guys definitely should. And I'll put a list of the other Godzilla YouTubers over here too, who kind of inspired me to, start my own Godzilla channel. Which, again, I wouldn't be here without you guys. Appreciate it very much. The fact that we're close to 700 subscribers now, very, very close. But again, really appreciate you, Richie. So everything you brought to, pretty much the Godzilla platform and the Godzilla YouTube platform. Really, really good to meet you at G-Fest. Then that brings us to the end of the dealer's room. After the dealer's room, I pretty much just... Did I pick up anything else? Actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, I don't think I picked up anything else from the dealer's room. But I did go back to the autograph room. Yeah, that's what it is, the autograph room. And when I went back to the autograph room, since I didn't get a picture with Mr. Shinichi Wakasa, I asked if I could get a picture with him. Here it is. And then I asked him a few things. Since I wasn't able to talk story with him yet the day before, yesterday. Basically what we ended up talking about was, his favorite Godzilla movie to work on, which was Tokyo SOS, funny enough. And then on top of that, kind of, if he's ever going to do, I asked him if he was going to ever do any sort of other Godzilla projects or work on any other projects in the future. What he told me was that he is working on, the shorts that have been coming out for Godzilla Day, the live action shorts. But besides that, he told me, besides that, a secret. That's what he said, is a secret. So that's basically how my conversation with him went on the last day of G-Fest. Then I went to go check out the game room, and they had the Godzilla arcade game set up and working finally, because it wasn't working whenever I went. It wasn't working for the past couple days, so to see it working is really cool. I wasn't able to play it, but that's cool. And then I went back to the main hall for one of the panels, which was funny enough, one of the films that Shinichi Wakasa worked on, the Godzilla GMK Mythology panel, which is by far my favorite panel. Here's me taking a picture of G. Fantas, who was there, and you can recognize this room as the room that had the opening ceremony in it. That was really cool. I'm going to leave that picture up there because I want to talk about that panel for a bit. I gotta tell the guy who did it, really, really good job. The name's slipping up on me right now, but I'll put it right on the screen. But he did a really good job. There was a lot of really well done research in his subject matter and everything like that. I really liked the original subject matter that Toho had, or the creators of Godzilla GMK originally had for that movie, before Toho kind of jumped in and said, and made their changes. Because with the mythology, and I'm going to do a separate video of it, in fact, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. But the mythology behind Godzilla GMK is something that's not exactly not touched upon in the movie, but it's missed. Like a good whole chunk of the mythology is missed. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a separate video on that. Stay tuned, because I also want to do eventually a figure short of it when we get the rest of the figures like Mothra and King Ghidorah. But that's besides the point of G-Fest. Let's move along. After I left that room, the Council of Godzillas were meeting. Yes, there was a bunch of cosplayers, or a bunch of the guys who dressed up in the Godzilla cosplay came out and were taking pictures, hanging around. I didn't have a chance to take a picture with them, so I took a picture of them, and that's the picture you're seeing on the screen right now. Then here's a few shots of Artist Alley, because I went back into Artist Alley. Oh no, I'm sorry. These are shots from the dealer's room, not Artist Alley. So these shots right here from the dealer's room is a shot of the battleship Yamamoto, and I guess an actor from the battleship Yamamoto was walking around with a model of it, which was really, really cool. He's either an actor or a cosplayer. I didn't catch it. I'm pretty sure it was one of the actors. But that was really cool to see. I don't know why I went back in the dealer's room that time. I think I just wanted to go back just to kind of take it all in again. And on top of that, see if I may have missed anything. No, I know what it was. At Mike Johnson's table, I was debating on whether I should grab one of the, God, what the heck is it? One of the CCP figures. Yeah, that's what it was. But I ended up not grabbing it. And I'm glad I didn't, because what happened afterwards is really, really cool. Because I went back to the autograph room, again to take it all in, because I'm like, I guess subconsciously I was feeling a little bittersweet about it, so I was just trying to take everything in, stay as long as I can until closing. But when I went back to the autograph room, because I went back again after I took a picture of Shinichi Wakasa, I had noticed that there were hand-drawn pictures of Ultraman at Ben Furia's booth, and then I see him sitting there as I'm walking around checking out the autograph room one last time, and I see him sketching Ultraman, like by hand. I mean, that's what sketching means pretty much, but pretty much by hand, color pencils and paper, which is really cool to see. I guess that's what he does on his downtime when he's waiting in between folks coming to ask for his autograph. So I see him doing that, and I see the pictures, and I'm like, oh my god, this might be a once in a lifetime opportunity for me. So I decided to ask the guy if, not Ben Furia, but one of the assistants working in the autograph room, if, he is selling these. And then, the guy said, oh, yes. So I went to go and ask if I could, buy one of the autographs from the person who's working in the front area. And then I did end up, picking it up. And that's the picture that you see, him working on right here. Is and then right now he isn't drawing it in front of me, but it's him writing his name on the bottom of it. But it's this picture of Ultraman with a kind of gold coloration instead of red, with a blue background. And for me, it's the blue and the gold that's really striking, that I liked compared to the other ones, personally. Anyways, so I bought it, I picked it up, and then asked if he could sign it, and then you can see him signing it there. And then just like that, on my last day, I probably got one of the biggest pieces of memorabilia that I can think of, which is a signed, hand-drawn, autographed picture of Ultraman by the guy who played Ultraman, Mr. Ben Furuya himself. So that is a really cool experience. And then here, this is me and him taking a picture together. And this is a picture of the picture, it's the sketch itself, the picture itself, and you can see the name there and everything. So that is pretty much how I ended my G-Fest. Because after that, everything started closing down. I went to go check out the game room one last time. And by the way, before I forget, I want to give a shout out to David and Andrea. Yeah. So these guys were two other first years who I ended up meeting on the last day of G-Fest, funny enough. Which was kind of a bummer, because if I met them in the beginning of G-Fest, it would have been cool to experience the whole thing, all together as, a bunch of first years at G-Fest. But if you guys are watching this, really glad that I was able to meet you guys. Hopefully, see you guys at next year's G-Fest. And, we can hopefully do more of the Godzilla stuff together. But that is how G-Fest ended. Met a lot of really, really great people. Was able to talk a lot more with more people as the G-Fest winded down that day. Got one of the biggest pieces of memorabilia for me. Only thing that could top it would have been Haruo Nakajima's autographed. But honestly, this is really one of my favorite things still, is this experience on this last day. Even though it wasn't really memorabilia buying or merch buying, it was a lot of experience stuff that really was, I guess, really what made the last day for me. Afterwards, though, after G-Fest, I dropped off everything back to the hotel room, and I went to go grab Giordano's deep dish pizza at a Giordano's down the street. On that way, I was able to see a nice little park, which you see here, with a bunch of geese. I believe they're geese, which is really cool. Which, by the way, if you ever go to Giordano's, just keep in mind, if you ever want to get their deep dish pizza, to get it in advance, possibly, because it does take about an hour to make from order. So just keep that in mind. And then after that pretty much ends my trip to Chicago. For those of you who know me personally, yeah, there's a bit more to it, but we'll leave it there. But that ends the whole G-Fest portion of it. That is my whole recap of my first ever G-Fest experience. And all I'm going to say is I do plan on going back to G-Fest again. Hopefully next year, although life always has a way of throwing things in the mix you don't ever expect. So I'm not going to make it a for certain thing, but it's something I do definitely want to do. I do want to go back to G-Fest next year. I had a really good time. I'm going to say shout out to everyone I met there. Really appreciate you guys in showing me, and I posted this, and I'm going to keep saying this, but this experience made me realize how cool of a community the Godzilla community is here in North America, and I can't appreciate it enough, and I can't thank everyone who put it on, thank everyone I met enough. It was a truly humbling and honoring experience, and I look forward to next year's G-Fest. But with that being said, I'm sorry it's a really long video. This is a video not only for you guys, but it's also a video for me to kind of capture these core memories, I guess, of my Godzilla journey. But with that being said, I think we'll cut it here. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching today's video. If you guys liked it, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button down below. Hopefully you guys who were at G-Fest had a similar experience. It was a wonderful G-Fest. Hopefully you guys who have not gone to G-Fest yet were inspired a little bit to possibly think about considering it and even, possibly going to G-Fest next year, because it's well worth it. I will admit I wasn't exactly excited for this trip going into it with how crazy things were going at work and everything in life. I was kind of like, shoot, I'm not really excited. It doesn't feel like I'm going on a trip yet. But when I got there, bam, the excitement kicked in, and it was just uphill from there. So I'll just leave it there. But yeah, if you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button down below. And if you guys had any questions about anything during the video, pause the video, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to answer it. If it's another question about Santa and Gyra, I want to answer it because I've answered it before in one of my past videos. And Santa and Gyra are in the video with the Wolfman, just keep that in mind. But besides that, if you guys like what you're going to see on the channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. And that being said, this has been Chanzilla 1964 saying until next time, and until next G-Fest, for some folks. Peace, and I'll see you next time.